What if we told you that you could have a brand new volunteer mixing audio in just 3 weeks? Today we're going to talk about the MxU way of building a show file and making it something that is approachable for your volunteers to come in and succeed very quickly, right? So first we just want to touch a couple things. The difference between mixing and engineering, Caleb.
Yeah.
Okay. The tasks that come with engineering would be like building a show file, actually like going in and dialing EQs, compression, like those of you audio guys out there, you know what I'm talking about. There is a lot that goes into that. So we are not trying to say that all of that can be learned in 3 weeks. That's just not true. But mixing, what is mixing? If you know music, then you know, okay, there's a guitar solo coming in the bridge of this song, or I know that Sam is leading this song, but Nick is leading this song, and so I need to make the fader moves so that that person's vocal is present instead of that one. Like that's what we would consider mixing. First, we want to talk about the importance of a show file.
Yeah.
Caleb, let's just break it down really pretty simply first. What are the benefits of having a show file that we can load from week to week?
Yeah. Just like you were talking about, the engineering side of things, all of that stuff takes time. Yeah. Dialing in EQs, routing things to buses, making sure your effects are dialed in correctly. Like that, whenever I build files for my church, like that's like a multi-week process to get it to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm really happy with this. And obviously when we're on, in on Sunday morning, we've got an hour and a half maybe for rehearsal. And so that's just not enough time to recreate a new file, right? So whenever we save the file, we have a good foundation. What we're allowed to do is walk in, make sure our inputs work, set our gain to its proper level. And if your show file is set up properly, like we have here, then we should be able to push up the fader and have a pretty good result already.
Yeah. So that is like the dream, right? Come in, set gain, push up the fader where it needs to be. Everything's good, right? Video's done. We're all set. It sounds really easy, but actually it really can be. And we're gonna show you how. First, we're on the main layer. Oftentimes what we see is people have some sort of mix we're playing music back, right? But let's just pretend your master is up. Your show file looks something like this, and somebody just comes in and goes like, audio show file, load. Sometimes they might not even load a new show file. So they're getting like all the gain structure and fader movements and all the, John, the guitar player, had a different guitar that week and there was something going on, and so they needed to notch something out of the EQ. They're getting all of that from last week. What happened in church last week that got saved to that show file? That is a no-go. Never, ever do that, right? What we talk about and what we refer to as the MxU way, you have a default show file. No matter what type of audio console you have a default show file. Name it default, all caps. Put it on thumb drives, on 7 different thumb drives. Treat it like the, Horcruxes in Harry Potter that Voldemort has, like all around. Like literally put them everywhere so that you have a backup. And what we often say is like, that show file should be your church's sound. That's something that you as a leader, if you're a worship leader and you're helping establish the sound for volunteers, or if you're an audio leader, whatever role you're in, if you're responsible for your church's sound, you're there setting up that default show file. You're the one who has spent countless hours engineering, getting all the EQs right, getting all the compression dialed, effects, everything. You save that, put it on a default file, and you don't let anybody touch it. All that happens to that show file is it gets loaded week after week. Every week, somebody comes in and they press load on that show file. How should that show file look? Great question. All these faders down every week. Gain structure. I mean, sometimes I've even seen purposely bringing gain structure on every single channel all the way down just to make people set gain structure every week. Because what happens is your volunteers will go, the gain hasn't changed. It's the same musician from last week.
It sounds loud enough.
Yeah. Sounds loud enough. It's all good, right? So default show file has all of your processing in it, but faders are down, gain is down, so that you can come in, Caleb, and do what? First thing you do.
Set the gain.
Set the gain, right? So you're gonna go channel by channel. And we've got other videos showing you how to run a sound check and set gain structure per instrument, but you're gonna go in through channel by channel and set that gain. Caleb, let's do that right now and show people how we set gain on the X32.
Yeah, so this is gonna be a little bit subjective to whatever your standard is. We've got a ton of videos just walking through gain structure like you mentioned and what's best for you. In this show file, we have it set up so that every input should be sitting at -18. So if you look at the channel strip here, you've got a bunch of numbers. We want our channel's average signal to hit right where that 18 is. It could be louder, could be a little bit quieter, but average signal is -18. So we select the channel, we come up to gain here. Now on your console, you might have gain and trim, or A gain and D gain, analog gain, digital gain. You want to go for the analog gain. This is the preamp. You're sending voltage to the microphone. And you select your channel and you adjust your gain until that average transient is hitting 18. And we're there. Move on to kick out. We're very hot on this channel, so I'm bringing it down.
Now, you might be wondering for a second, how are these guys, there's no band playing, what's happening? How are they setting gain? Is this virtual playback? It's actually, honestly, a little bit embarrassing how the hoops we had to jump through to get audio to pass through here analog. There's some B-roll I'll show you. We're running actually through an Allen Heath console out into this X32 analog so that we can demonstrate setting gain structure because it is so important. And so when you're building a show file, when you're building your default, your master file, make sure you're using good inputs that have already been set to the proper gain structure that you've established across your whole desk.
Yeah, and one thing I will mention is I've been in a scenario where I had a certain gain structure set, and I actually decided, you know what, I was at -12, I wanna actually bring that down to -18, and all I had were tracks with -12.
Yeah.
So you can actually go in your DAW and trim those down so that when they hit your console, they hit -18, and then that allows you to set up your console with that default file and have -18 tracks. And then whenever you have live inputs, gain to -18, everything translates well.
Okay, so let's really quick, channel by channel, get everything up to -18.
Yep.
And then we'll move on. Okay, so Caleb just finished setting all the gains to -18. It actually took you a couple minutes. Like, that's how important it is. There's gonna be certain instruments that are harder to set gain structure than others. Vocals, notorious for being difficult because verse are singing quieter. Typically, you wanna go to the loudest part of the song, right? Same thing, drums can be easier because if they're a good drummer, it should be a pretty similar snare hit every time. And so you're just gonna need to consider that as you're going about setting gains for instruments. On the X32, you'll notice, okay, first we have gain, low cut, EQ, inserts, everything follows gain. So if your gain is hot, guess what? That's going to affect the threshold on your compressor.
It's gonna be slamming.
It's gonna affect your sends.
Yeah.
For monitor mixes, it's going to change everything about your show file. So if your gains are not set first, when you first build your show file and set right after you load that default show file, you might as well be using an analog console and starting from scratch every week. If you want to learn more about gain, we have a ton of training on the MxU platform. We'll include some links in the description below. That'll teach you everything you need to learn about gain structure. We are just scratching the surface here. Here is the quote unquote secret sauce. It's not all that secret. It's not all that special, but yet not a lot of people do it. Sending all of these channels to a post-fade aux. Let's explain that, Caleb.
Yeah, so if we go to our buses here, I have bus 1 and 2 set up, they're called mix. And all of my inputs are going to those auxes. This is a stereo aux, that's huge. Please don't do this with a mono aux.
Do not do this with a mono aux.
This is a stereo aux. All of my inputs are going to that aux, post-fade, and they are being removed from the master bus. So none of these inputs are going to the master bus by themselves.
Yeah, notice if you're familiar with the X32, selecting these channels, master bus, not on.
Off, yeah.
They're not going to the master bus.
So how are they getting to the master bus? This mix bus is being sent to the master bus.
Yep.
So the signal path is preamp, input to bus, bus to master bus.
Yes. Okay, so let's go sends on fader for this bus. right? This is probably more what you would typically see. You've got some faders. The fader resolution is actually pretty great still on this, which is killer. Some people are mixing down here in -20, -30 land, which is not good. And so just a much more forgiving mixing range. Again, this is why you want your volunteers to be mixing around Unity. And honestly, you should too. It's how the pros do it, how you should do it. So all of these are kind of, you know, up and down 5 dB or so, minus +5. So still pretty good, but this mix is what is being sent to the house. But with that, now on the main layer, that's how we get all of those faders up to Unity at 0, right? So now a volunteer can walk up to the console and not have to guess. So on the main mix, all these faders at 0. It's nice and pretty, nice and clean. They might not stay there, but it's like building that foundational mix. Now your volunteer has a great starting point, and now it's just like little moves. Oh, bass, you know, I'm kind of feeling like this week bass could be a little bit hotter. Let's move it up. What's great too is that maybe you have like rides for a guitar solo, you push it up, now you know where your home bass is. I'm gonna bring my guitar back to 0. And I know it's gonna sound good. And I know that my leader, Caleb, set up the Showfile with great tender love and care for me. And if I put all of these faders at Unity and set my gain structure properly, like I was instructed to, I'm gonna have a pretty good mix. Don't believe me? Okay, let's test it. We have got Nate inside the office at MxU, out front. I wanna bring him back here, and Nate will kind of be like our volunteer. Nate doesn't have really any audio engineering experience. He's a musician, so he understands music. But yeah, I think it'd be great to bring Nate back here, teach him how to set gain, tell him where to put the fader.
We're gonna turn the gains all back down.
Turn all the gains down, put all the faders down, to see what he can do. Sound good? Let's go get him. Nathaniel, what do we got going on here?
Just learning how to make a birthday cake.
Okay, so this is where Nate goes, not to do any work, just to learn how to bake cakes, apparently. Away from the sunlight. Okay, I already told him you were gonna be our volunteer for the day.
Yeah.
A couple like just rules, ground setting. Like Nate has never really mixed before. He's never been in a like audio engineering role. He knows a little bit about, you know, what an EQ is, what compression is, all that good stuff, but I don't think you could build a Showfile from scratch.
No.
Certainly not. Just like pretty much most volunteers out there, they really don't need to be able to build a Showfile from scratch. So in this video, Nate is going to utilize what we've talked about. Gain structure, we're gonna teach you how to properly do that. And he's gonna utilize fader resolution, getting his faders up to Unity as we've instructed to get to that base level foundational mix that we have saved in our default Showfile. And then other than that, it's just really mixing. You just gotta learn, okay, guitar solo here, or this singer is singing here, and those are what we'd consider like fader movements, but not necessarily building a mix from the ground up. And so, yeah, you ready?
Let's go.
Let's make it happen. Nate has been watching MxU religiously for 3 weeks on how to mix, which, by the way, tons of training. Again, we said 3 weeks because you still gotta train your people how to mix, right? We're not training them how to build Showfiles, we're training them how to mix. So, MxU, if you don't know why we're here, that is why we're here, to help train your people on how to mix. We help worship leaders, we help drummers, we help singers, we help guitar players, we help the whole help the whole worship and tech team. Here's what you need to do. You are going to go through source by source, set gain.
Okay.
Little hack, you can use this visual right here. It's a little bit more defined than these lights here.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Channel by channel, you're gonna turn this gain knob until average, you're getting input at this -18. -18 is the golden number, don't forget it.
Cool.
You're gonna go through every single channel and do that. Then you're gonna go over the second layer. You got a few more inputs here.
Okay.
Don't put click in the house.
That's a great idea.
Make sure you don't do that. Vocal 1, I think you're gonna do all right. Another thing you're gonna know about this console, this button sticks. So give it one of those.
Okay.
You'll,
the old 1-2.
Yeah, the only 1-2. And it's kind of becoming a fun thing around here. I like to say, we'll put the master up for you too. Just give you a little head start.
Okay.
You're gonna set gain, get the fader up to Unity.
Get it to 0.
Get it to 0.
Yep.
This is home. If it looks like this, you're dialed. Ready, set, go.
Okay. There we go, so. Of course, we're gonna start with our kick.
So Nate, you just finished setting all the gains.
Yeah,
The toms are actually kind of hard sometimes, huh?
very.
Well, especially when you're virtual sound checking, you don't have the ability to say, hey, just hit the tom for me. And so you're waiting like, when is he gonna
Yeah.
hit the tom? But really not all that hard.
No.
You're lining up a light,
Yeah.
turning a knob until it lines up. Did Caleb or I touch the console at all?
No.
This was you.
Yeah.
You did it. We want to, again, for the sake of the test, want to make sure there is no contamination here of knowledge.
I know.
Okay, so now what we're gonna do, Nate is gonna pull up the faders
Yeah, let's just get to it
to
already.
Unity and just make it happen. We'll see what you come up
All
with.
right.
Bro,
Not bad.
that's baller.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would love for your volunteers mix to sound like that while you are off in the beach in the Bahamas on a vacation, right? Come on. So it's not that hard. You just need to have a show file built that is for your volunteers, right? And not just for your volunteers, really anybody stepping up to that console week after week. Load that default file, set the gain structure, get your fader up to Unity. You're ready to rock. That easy.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Okay, so a couple things we didn't mention. One of the big benefits from this is your volume is consistent week to week. Now it's not like, oh, this week it's hotter than last week. No, you kind of have a base, kind of a foundation to work from, right? The other thing Caleb and I were talking about was, okay, you have vocals change in and week out. And so what you'll need to do is build vocal presets. Every console, you can have a preset for your EQ, for your compressor, even for your channel strip. So build one for Lindsay's vocal, for Paul's vocal, for Dan's vocal. So when you first step up to the console, you load that default show file, you load the vocal presets for where those vocals are on the console, set the gain structures, put the faders up to Unity, you're set to go. Not that much to remember, but in case you or your volunteers forget, we put together a checklist. That checklist is gonna be linked in the description below. Put that checklist there, set your volunteers up for success, just in case they forget some of these crucial, simple steps, right? That's not all. We're giving you the show file. This exact show file, you might not have the X32. They have an offline editor though, I believe, for you to even just kind of figure out how we did the routing here and how we made this happen. If you do have the X32, steal the file, slap default on it, put it on a couple of hard drives, hide them in your office. You're done. You're set. And then you can revisit it once a quarter and go, hey, how's our mix these days? Do we need to maybe tweak the compressor on the bass or so on and so forth? Are we finding ourselves doing the same things over and over and over again, week after week? Might be time to revisit that default show file. But man, I hope you guys glean something from this. We think it's awesome. We kind of consider this the MxU way and how we want everybody to be building their show files in churches, again, for the success of a team. So if you like the video, please like, comment if you have any questions, always subscribe, maybe consider doing that. We would love to continue to train you in your teams. If you are not really aware of what we do at MxU, again, we're the training solution for worship and tech teams across the world. We've built a platform specifically designed for worship leaders, tech leaders to train their volunteer teams with preloaded 1,000+ training videos on everything worship in tech. So please head to getmxu.com if you want to learn more about that. We'll leave a description or a link in the description as well for you. Nate, thank you for being our test bunny today.
Get out of here. I want to mix.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.